Hey everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here, back with another CyberInsight live stream. We're into day 17 of the TryHackMe Advent of Cyber, and today we're going to be doing some stuff with AWS, so that should be pretty cool, especially for folks who are wanting to get a little bit or a little taste of some sweet cloud knowledge. Then yeah, this lab might be for you. So we're going to hop over into the browser and get into this, but as always, appreciate everybody checking out the stream. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. Let's see. All right, day 17. We are getting there. We are almost done. Let's see. So, in a move to taunt the best festival company, Grinch Enterprises sent out an email to the entire company with everyone's name and date of birth. McSkitty looks quite stressed with the breach and thinks of the potential legal consequences. She talks to McInfra to try to determine the origin of the breach. So we're going to be going over a bit of background stuff in AWS. There's quite a bit here, actually. And if you aren't familiar with cloud tech and specifically AWS, I would also like to refer you over to my cloud playlist. I got a bunch of different stuff. I recently just passed the AWS Cloud Certified Practitioner, which is their entry-level cert. If you check out these videos that I did down here, I give you some links to a whole bunch of free training, stuff that helped me pass. Also do a walkthrough practice test. So yeah, if you're interested in that or the Azure stuff, definitely go check out some of those videos. So we're going to try and hit this stuff a little bit quickly because like I said, there is quite a bit. But if you have any questions or feel that I didn't hit stuff well enough, then just go back and scan through this maybe a little bit more. So we start talking a little bit about shadow IT, and that sometimes when different teams within an IT organization feel the need that they need to spin up some different services or get stuff done a lot quicker, or get around certain types of controls, whether they be technical controls or policy controls. And sometimes that leads to some rogue activity. And with the advent, no pun intended, of cloud technologies, then that kind of makes things a little bit easier in some ways for folks within an organization to spin up resources and start putting out information in different types of cloud, if you want to call cloud devices, or places where you would post stuff to the cloud that maybe the security team within the organization isn't aware of. So you can get a bit into trouble with that. So yeah, they're saying public cloud is the easy way for business units to engage in shadow IT. And the most accessible public cloud at the moment is AWS. So if we look at these two images, what do you think the difference is? Can't really see too much. I mean, I think this one might be a little bit brighter, or that's just my screen. Or actually, looking at it on the stream, it's actually passing through my background, so you actually can't see those trees because they're so bright green. But that's all right. It doesn't really matter. What we're going to do is we're going to inspect the elements on both of these to kind of take a look at what we see as the difference. And if I scroll up here, you'll see that this image is sourced from the TryHackMe webpage, right? So it's something that they probably have within their WordPress or whatever type of content management system they're using for their website. And then if we do the same thing on this one, right click and look at kind of inspecting what's going on here, we see that this image is actually being sourced from Amazon, from s3.amazon AWS. And what S3 is a, you might heard them refer to as buckets, is a way for an organization to put data up in an object-oriented file structure and make it readily available either to folks within the organization or really to anybody out on the internet. So we are going to be doing a bunch of AWS CLI commands today, which is pretty cool, especially if you've never done that before. Good thing to point out with that, though, is it's installed on the attack box, which you should spin up now if you haven't done that already. But if you're using the free plan, the attack box doesn't have internet access and can't reach AWS. So you're going to need to actually run this stuff on your own local box if you aren't doing the paid version of TryHackMe, which actually is a great time to go get the paid version of TryHackMe because I think they're doing like 20% off. So pretty good. All right, so learning objectives. Going to be talking about AWS and two of the main or common services that they have. The S3, which is a simple storage service. So that's where that image was stored from. And the IAM, which is our identity and access management. This is where you end up creating different types of credentials and keys and assigning those to different types of profiles within your AWS environment. So here's kind of a huge breakdown of all of these different services that AWS has. Again, we're not really going to go into this. Go check out my other videos and other resources. The one that you're probably most familiar with, though, is the EC2. That's actually the service that Amazon has, which allows you to spin up virtual machines in the cloud. So any type of servers and stuff like that is EC2. Lambda is some serverless functions. S3 is the storage buckets. They have some database services and a whole bunch of monitoring and log stuff. But we're not going to go too deep into that. You can definitely do that if you feel the need to, though. AWS divides its infrastructure into regions. And within those regions, they have what are called availability zones, which are kind of like clusters of data centers. You kind of actually, let me see, I brought this up. You kind of see like this is a region. And then they have multiple availability zones that all kind of are able to talk to each other. See if they actually have a list. Yeah, these are all of the different availability zones that they have, or I shouldn't say, different regions that they have. So you can see actually quite a bit. And then within those, they have a whole bunch of data centers or availability zones within these regions. Because regions are independent, this is very important. You'll get different answers to questions depending on the region that you're querying. So when we're doing certain types of commands with the CLI, sometimes it's necessary to specify which particular region you want to be querying the information from. As we also saw on the internet the other day with all of the AWS issues, I think it was like a month or so ago, that was in, what was it, US East 1. And then I think there was some that happened this past week. I don't remember what region it was in. Important to note that you can access AWS via the AWS console, which is just a web GUI that you can log into. AWS CLI, which is what we're going to be using. AWS API, which is great if you're going to be doing any type of scripting to be able to interact with that, and the associated SDKs for your favorite programming language. So we kind of mentioned S3, so we're going to do a little bit more background on that because we're actually going to be hitting this up quite a bit in the lab. So S3 is their hosted object storage service. Objects are stored in buckets. It's a highly simplify the concept of object storage. Buckets are key value stores, with the object key being the full name path of a file, and then the value being whatever the contents of that file actually is. S3 is publicly hosted out on the internet. It doesn't sit behind a corporate firewall, so this is where you can kind of get in trouble if you end up putting information out there that isn't supposed to be there. AWS buckets are or use global namespace. What that means is that the names are unique to individual AWS customers. So if somebody's using a certain name, you can't use that same name as your customer space. So S3 is used for more than just public hosting. You can do data archiving. So a lot of times, some of the database services they have actually will be backed up to S3. Video processing, regulatory retention, and a whole bunch of other things. The challenge for the best festival company, like any enterprise using S3, is that sometimes data gets mixed up, and data that shouldn't be public gets made public. there's a few different ways to discover different types of buckets whenever you're trying to find information about an organization. One of the easiest ways is when a company embeds content into their website that's hosted on S3. It's kind of like what we saw before. We did the inspect element on that and saw that that image was actually being hosted on S3. A lot of times organizations will do this with images or PDFs because it all can be hosted very cheaply in S3 and linked to other sites. So you kind of have a few different formats here of what the URL strings look like if you're going from a web browser, bucket name, S3, Amazon AWS, or kind of this other way where it's a little bit reversed. So if we want to list the contents of different buckets, there's a few different ways that we can do that, and it all comes back to the type of security that is around the particular buckets and the data within them. So they have two different types of access controls, bucket policies and S3 ACLs. Sometimes that can lead to a little bit of confusion of whether or not the controls are properly implemented. We can see here that we can use a curl command as well if we wanted to pull down a whole bunch of information. So we can do this. This is from the IRS. This is a whole bunch of listing of all the IRS forms or Form 90 filings. So we can actually go over here. We'll give this a try just so you can see what this looks like. And you see we pretty much, like the data's there in XML, but I don't know about you, I don't feel like dealing with that. So we can use the AWS CLI to end up requesting this. It's important to notice that we're using the no sign request tag at the end of that. And this allows you to request data from the S3 bucket without actually being an AWS customer. So this is important for us as well later on. So let's try this. Let me move this up, make sure that you guys are able to see that. There we go, okay. And now you see we get at least a little bit better of a format of all of the different documents that they have and when it was uploaded, size of the document, stuff like that. A little bit easier to parse. So as we're talking about different types of authentication, object permissions are different from bucket permissions. Bucket permissions allow you to list the objects in a bucket, while the objects permissions actually allow you to download the object. In the case of the IRS stuff that we just looked at, both the bucket and all the objects in the bucket are publicly readable. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case, and depending upon the use case of the organization, that could be different. You can also have documents that actually be writable or publicly writable. That could be kind of dangerous, and you might not necessarily want to do that, though. Let's see if there's anything else that we want to hit here. They go a little bit more into permissions and stuff like that. We don't really need to hit that up, though. For the lab, you can read a little bit more on that if you want to. Then we get into IAM. So it's one of the older services, just like S3. And it becomes important because of the fact that most of the other services that aren't older, most of the newer stuff actually requires AWS signing between services and when interacting with them. This is typically done behind the scenes by the CLI or various software development kits. The signing process leverages keys that are maintained within IAM. So the access keys are kind of like the really important thing here, because if the keys are able to be found, then that is the primary way that AWS accounts end up being compromised. So access keys consist of an access key ID and the secret access key. Access key IDs always begin with the letters AKIA, and are 20 characters long. This is important. This is one of those things that if you're going to start dealing with AWS, you want to know about that and remember that. These act as a username for the AWS API. The secret access key is 40 characters long. AWS generates both strings. However, the secret access key isn't available after the initial generation of it. So you're able to get it that first time, and then after that, you can't go pull it down. There is other types of credentials, short credentials. The difference with that is it uses the letters Asia. So conducting reconnaissance within the AWS CLI, when you find credentials, you can add them to your AWS profile. For this, you use the command AWS configure -- profile and the profile name, and then it will end up creating these two different configs, or two different files within your home directory. So we're going to be doing that a little bit later. Once you configure a new profile with new access, you can execute any command. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see, where did that pop up to? Okay. You can use any command. Here we are. Let's see. Once you configured a new profile with new access keys, you can execute any command using this other set of credentials. For example, to list all the S3 buckets in the AWS account you found credentials for, you actually can then leverage that profile now that you have that there. So a few other things that we're able to do: finding an account ID belonging to an access key, determining the username of the access key, listing all the EC2 instances in account, and listing all the EC2 instances running an account in a different region. A few different things to kind of note here. With these commands, you're normally going to want to specify the profile, and it also allows us to specify the region if we need to do that at some point. All right, now to the challenge. And as I move through this, if you have any questions, please go ahead and throw those in the chat, and we'll try to answer those as best we can. So somehow the Grinch has managed to get a hold of all the elves' names and email addresses. How could this have happened? I don't know. Maybe because the security up the North Pole is lackluster. Given the scope of the breach, McSkitty believes someone in HR must be involved. You know that HR recently launched a new portal site using WordPress. Okay. Good to know. You also know that HR didn't request any infrastructure from IT to deploy the portal site. Shadow IT. Uh-oh. Where is the portal hosted? Here's an image HR sent out announcing the new site. Based off of that, can you figure out how the Grinch got access to the employees database? All right. So let's see what we got here. We have this image. I'm going to copy the image address. Let's open up. Okay, so we are able to see that this is coming from S3, and it's images.bestfestivalcompany.com and flyer.png. Look at that. And if I just get rid of the flyer.png, it actually will bring us to a whole XML list of all of the different files that are in this bucket. So let's see if what they were asking us. What is the name of the S3 bucket used to host the HR website announcement? Well, we kind of pulled that already. So that is images.bestfestivalcompany.com. Let's see. That should be good. Okay. What is the message left in the flag.text object from that bucket? There's a few different ways that we could do this as well. we can do it through the browser here. So we could hypothetically just go like this. We see that there is a flag.txt. We can do that. Oh, it's easy to get your else data when you leave it so easy to find. Bam. So let's see, that should be the answer, but let's also do that through the CLI. I mean, because it's easy to click through the web browser, but if you haven't done this type of stuff through the CLI, then, you know, we might as well take the opportunity to do that. So we should be able to go AWS S3 LS. I'm going to copy this stuff over. Oh, we got that there already. Okay. So let's go images, bestfestivalcompany.com, and we'll move that over and combine that. And we'll give this a try. Okay, and see, so with using the AWS CLI, we were also able to pull down a list of all of the different files that are there within that particular bucket. Just for kicks and giggles, let's try it without the no sign request at the end, see if that still works. Nope. So because we don't have AWS profile configured, and we weren't using the no sign request, we actually weren't able to access that bucket unless we used the no sign request. Okay. And we should be able to also pull down that same document. So it's flag.txt. But instead of it being ls, so here in this command, s3 ls, so ls kind of being like a Linux command to show what's in the directory. They have another command for you to download something very similar to a Linux command. So this would be a copy. Let's see if I got that right. Is it copy? Oh, my bad. So looking at this command here, you need to tell it where you want to actually put or download it to. And I didn't do that. So we're going to just put a dot, which means we're going to put it in this current directory that I'm in, which should be the home directory for this. There we go. And if we do ls, there we go. We see the flag there, and we can go cat flag.txt, and we are able to get that. Awesome. Okay, so just want to show you both ways. You know, the whole purpose of this lab is kind of working through AWS stuff, and learning the CLI, I think, is, you know, definitely a beneficial way to go. It can be a little bit easier in some ways. All right, so what other file in the bucket looks interesting to you? Let's see. So, what do we got here? We got the flag, a flyer, presence tree. Okay, so this file down here is pretty big. It's the biggest out of all of those. WP backup.zip. So they did mention that this is the website that they were using is a WordPress. So that looks like that probably is a WordPress backup file. So I would say out of everything there, that probably looks like the most interesting of those files. Let's see, WP backup.zip. Cool. So let's pull that down. And do the same thing. We're just going to swap this out. WP backup.zip. So it should work the same. I'll let that do that. Cool. If we ls, we do see it there. But it is a zip file, so we need to unzip it. So if you don't know how to do that within Linux, should just be able to go unzip, WP backup, and all that goodness, which now it's created a unzip directory, which we can then go and take a look at. So we're going to cd WP backup. And we got a whole bunch of different files there. So let's see what they are asking for next. What is the AWS access key ID? So I think we kind of talked about access keys before up here. And access key IDs always begin with the letters AKIA. So we should be able to do a search, text search within these to try and find that. So we'll go cat, and we're going to go asterisk for anything. So within this directory, we're going to search through all of these. We're going to pipe it to grep. Do the hyphen or the dash lowercase r, and that will end up not only matching on whatever the string is, it also will list a file name. So it'll make it easier for us to then go and look in the file wherever we find the string. And then what was it? AKIA, I think. If that works. Okay, perfect. So we did end up finding one document that has, that does have a access key ID in it. Let's take a look at that particular file. Cat wp config.php. All right. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. But this stuff here actually, in defining the custom values for S3 is actually going to be quite valuable to us. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Well, let's see if anything else in here. MySQL. Yeah, looks like they haven't really been doing doing too much with that, but I think the info at the bottom is definitely what we care about. I'll see a question come in here. Let's see. Do you know of any other AWS labs? I've had to look on TryHackMe. So I haven't seen any other AWS labs on TryHackMe. I know that there's a bunch out there from other resources. And actually, so the training that I mentioned doing for the CCP, that particular training class actually has labs with that where you end up building out your own stuff. And they actually continue those if you start doing any of the other AWS cert training classes that they have. Those also have labs to follow along with as well. Pretty good. I think the training itself was like, I think the intro one might have actually been free, or sometimes it's free. If it's not, it was only like $20. So it's definitely worth it. If you go check out either of my AWS CCP videos, I talk a lot about those and actually put links for that particular training class. Okay, let's see. So let's move this. I think that's what one of the questions that we had first was the access key. So we got that. Let's see. What is the AWS account ID that the access key works for? Okay. So we were able to find that. But when you find credentials, you can add them to your profile. But we haven't set up and added a profile yet. So let's do that. And then we can add in, I mean, we should be able to add in most of these things to create the profile, and then we should be able to continue to do other types of enumeration and searching. So let's get out of this. Okay. AWS configure, I think it was profile. Let's see if I got that right. Oh, and then the profile name. Okay. We'll just call this lab. Yeah, lab is fine. Yeah, we'll just go lab. Okay, and then access key ID, which we already have identified here. So we're going to drop this in. And secret access key, which is here. So perfect example of why you want to be careful of what you are uploading to S3 buckets. So backing up your WordPress site, which has credentials to be able to pull stuff from Amazon, and then leaving that on an open S3 bucket, maybe not the best move. Okay, so we got secret access key, default region name, we're going to go US East 1. Now, something that you do end up coming into with Amazon is that some of the services, especially from management or billing perspectives, actually reside within US East 1. So sometimes when you're actually using the AWS GUI interface through a web browser, you might go to access something and it's not there, it's not available. Normally they'll be good and they'll kick you back a message saying that you need to make sure that you're in the right zone. But normally the right zone is going to end up being a US East 1. Okay. And the default output format, I think we're okay with that. Bam. Had a web customer that left all their access key in a public-facing text file a few weeks back. Ew, dicey. Not so hot. All right, let's see. The next question was, after we had that created, what is the AWS account ID that the access key works for? Okay, so we're going to go to get the account ID. We're going to copy this command over. Get rid of that, copy that in. And the access key ID we have right here. Now, I'm going to hit this and this isn't going to work, and I'm going to show you why. Unable to locate credentials. You can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So it's not going to let us do that because we haven't specified the profile that actually has the access to be able to look this stuff up. So what you have to do, and it wasn't in this command over here, is you actually need to have the -- profile and profile name tag after that. So we're going to go, if I spell it right, profile, there we go, lab. Okay, and there we go. Now we have the account ID. Now again, if we were actually doing this for some type of actual pen test or some other type of reason, we'd want to obviously be taking notes of all of these things that we find. That way we wouldn't have to keep coming back and hitting up arrow and rerunning the same commands and stuff again. We put all this stuff over in a notepad or something like that. All right, let's go answer this one. What is the username for the access key? Again, we're just going to copy this over. Should be that. Let's see. Okay, there is the user ID. Right down here. So the user is elfmchr@pfc.com. So we should be able to just copy that. Perfect. Let's see if this works. Bam. All right. There's an EC2 instance in this account. Under the tags, what is the name of the instance? All right, so this next one we want to do is listing all of EC2 instances. So we should be able to do this, copy this over, again, put in our particular profile name. Okay, and this is a lot of information. But down at the bottom here, we have the tags, and we can see the tags for the name, HR portal. Perfect. Okay, let's see what this last question is. Now, what is the database password stored in Secrets Manager? Well, we haven't really talked about Secrets Manager. Let's see what our hint is. The AWS CLI command for Secrets Manager can be found running AWS Secrets Manager help. You'll first need to list all the secrets, then you can get the secret value. Okay. So it's AWS Secrets Manager help. Let's see. Let's see what we can find here. AWS Secrets Manager help. All right. This kind of looks like a man page. Let's see if they got some commands down here to help us out somewhere. Okay, available commands. What do we got? So we got cancel, create a secret, delete resource policy, delete secret, describe secret, get random password, get resource policy, get secret value. That might be something that we want eventually, maybe. List secrets, restore secrets, rotate secrets. I'm going to say, let's go with the list secrets, because that's what the hint said. AWS Manager list. Oh, okay. So let's give that a try. List secrets, profile, lab. And what do we got? So here's the secret list. And the name of the secret is HR password. Okay. So what can we do with that? So I found an article on AWS webpage, tutorial to create and retrieve. Yep. That's kind of where we're going to have to go with this. So we have the name of it, but we don't necessarily know what to do with that. So let's go take a look. I found the same thing. So to retrieve your secrets from AWS Secret Manager, on the secrets list page, we end up finding that. This is if to retrieve it from the CLI. So we have the secret ID, right? Which is the name. Oh, sorry. So we should be able to run this command, AWS Secrets Manager get secret value secret ID, and then the password that we have there. So let's give that a try. And that was HR password. And then remember, we always want to, seems like we need to do the profile command, so we'll throw that in there. Let's see. Okay, what do we got? HR password, name HR password for a secret string. The secret you're looking for is not in this region. Huh, okay. Santa wants to have low latency to his databases. Look closer to where he lives. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, this would be where it should be. According to this would have the secret strings right there. That's fine. Let's see, for a region that's closer to where he's at, we actually had that list of regions here when we were looking at this earlier. So US, East, West, definitely not going to be Cape Town. Asia Pacific, those all don't seem close to Santa to me. Canada, maybe. Central Canada, Europe. Stockholm is north. It's the only one here that I see that has north in the name. Besides these in Asia, which I don't think are there. I don't know. Let's give, I'd say that one or Canada, but let's go EU North 1. We'll give that one a try. So we should be able to do that. And then I think it was just region. Because if you remember, we saw that region. Yeah. Doing a different one. EU North 1. There we go. Here we go. Santa's password. Again, these folks in their not so good passwords. Winter 2021 bang. All right, let's do it. Okay. I think that's it. Pretty good. Anybody else have any questions or comments? That one took a little bit longer because it actually was a little bit of stuff, especially from a CLI perspective, of moving around within AWS, which is pretty cool, especially if you haven't had any experience doing that. Cool. Well, if nobody else has any other questions or anything like that, then we can go ahead and wrap this thing up. Appreciate everybody dropping in. Catch you tomorrow with day 18. All right, take care. Bye.